MGMT is about to release their fifth album, Loss of Life. This is their first album in 6 years, and MGMT has been on one of the more puzzling rides since they broke into the public consciousness with Time to Pretend, Electric Feel, and Kids, which appeared on their Oracular Spectacular album in 2007. I felt like at that point, they were playing with house money. They could almost do no wrong. They kind of spearheaded this new wave of indie where it was a mix of psychedelia, a mix of pop, a mix of dance and electronic. It was just an interesting and fun blend of psych pop. First with the song Time to Pretend, which is still to this day my favorite MGMT song, but also with the more bouncy, dancey Electric Feel, and then with the EDM adjacent Kids. And there were some other songs I liked on that album as well, like Weekend Wars. I like that one a lot, but Oracular Spectacular just put MGMT on the map. I remember seeing them at Coachella a couple years later. And along with those, indie hit singles, like they weren't like top of the pop charts types of singles, but they were indie famous, but they were ubiquitous enough to where people were hearing them, in Urban Outfitter like stores, you know what I mean? But those songs also had music videos that were just as weird, just as cutting edge, just as kind of jarring and obtuse. It just made for a really nice psychedelic package. And keep in mind, this was pre Tame Impala. This is pre a lot of the quintessential psych pop bands and groups of the past 15 years. Again, Oracular Spectacular was 2007. A lot of the other stuff came, between 2008 to 2011, 2012. Well, it would be about 3 years between Oracular Spectacular and their follow-up, Congratulations. I remember how much I was anticipating this new album. Well, they released the album and there were no singles that were anything like Time to Pretend, Electric Feel, and Kids. And this Congratulations release, yes, it did debut well. It hit like number 2 on the charts, but that was because of how anticipated it was based on their previous singles. So people bought the album. A lot of people did. Again, number 2 on the pop charts. Oracular Spectacular peaked at 38, number 38 on the Billboard 200. So in terms of peak, Congratulations exceeded that. But as quickly as MGMT was embraced because of those early singles, they were pretty much polarizing their audience with that second release. I like the album a lot. Congratulations from front to back is actually my favorite MGMT album. I mean, I can tell you why in a second, but it alienated their fan base so much that they have never really recovered in terms of having similar fanfare. So I don't know how their label, Columbia Records, felt about the Congratulations release, but again, it had very little of the pop sensibility that Oracular Spectacular had. But Congratulations, I thought, was like a creative achievement. Now, I don't want to get too heady in terms of why I like Congratulations, but let's just say that the album opener, It's Working, it had it had a few like Mamas and the Papas moments halfway in when you hear the chorus coming in and then you hear the drums kind of picking up. It's like a psychedelic ride. Between that and track 2, In Search of Dan Treacy, I was like in this psychedelic heaven listening to those songs. I mean, just look at the album cover. I mean, what could get more psychedelic than that? Someone's Missing, track 3. I didn't like it as much as tracks 1 and 2. By the way, again, I reiterate, It's Working, track 1, very cool. And I thought it was such a cool intro. It had a few different change-ups in sound and texture. They would sometimes remove like an instrument and then it would kind of have an increased intensity with the removal of certain sounds. But yeah, It's Working. I love that one. Track 3, a little less so, but it kind of had a nice build up and crescendo. Their single, track 4, Flash Delirium, I really like that one. Again, had a few different switch ups, had different phases to the song, and then it had kind of a big chorus explosion towards the end. I love Flash Delirium. I Found a Whistle, I didn't like it as much. Siberian Breaks, track 6, might be my favorite song on the album. This was a long song. It was like 12 minutes long, and it had some very nice and psychedelic gentle moments, almost like early Simon and Garfunkel, like think Sounds of Silence in terms of how gentle the vocal delivery was in certain sections of Siberian Breaks. But aside from that section, the other sections are, again, psychedelic ear candy. And then it goes into these different moments. After the gentle Simon and Garfunkel style vocal, it ends up kind of building with this, kind of banging drum, and then more synth and psychedelic sounds. A lot of synth on this album, but then there's more reverb on the vocals that you hear, and then it kind of builds up, and then you hear this kind of menacing ha 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 kind of laugh, and then it goes into this splash of psychedelic rock pop instrumentals that just ride out for like the next 2 to 3 minutes. And to me, that was my favorite part of that long Siberian Breaks epic song. It was that instrumental splash about 2/3 of the way through, and then they return to the earlier phases, kind of coming full circle with the sound. Siberian Breaks, I thought that was a huge win on that Congratulations album. And then it had the song Brian Eno, it had Lady Dada's Nightmare, and then it had Congratulations, the album closer, track 9, which has a very interesting music video. Just look at that little creature, that little thing that's walking around, and then it breaks down and it kind of melts. It's a very interesting music video, but the song, it is one of the most accessible and I guess you could say pop friendly. I mean, it's a slow burner. It's not like a dance pop song like Electric Feel and Kids were. But if you listen to the lyrics, it was kind of like a rejection of what comes with fame. It was a congratulations. They talk about other people handling their money, and all I want is a great big congratulations. And it has kind of like a somber, kind of a sad song. And I mean, to me, I took that and it would kind of manifest in the years to come. I looked at that as them kind of signing off as pop stars. It kind of punctuated what was a very alternative style album. Regardless of what anybody expected of them, after Oracular Spectacular, they gave them Congratulations. And then after that, they got even more psychedelic on the self-titled MGMT album 3 years later in 2013. Aside from maybe Alien Days and their single, Your Life is a Lie, this was probably their least accessible album. They were never so far removed from pop as they were on that MGMT album. And however much they alienated their fan base with Congratulations, they probably pushed them even further away with that MGMT album. And then 5 years later, they came with Little Dark Age. Little Dark Age, it was kind of like an art pop album, and it did have some very accessible songs. This might have been their closest return to those earlier psych pop songs from Oracular Spectacular. Little Dark Age, it had a few of them. The title track, Little Dark Age, that was a nice little pop, almost, I would say art pop style song with almost like an 80s synth on the chorus. But yeah, it was very accessible. It was a nice little bop, if you will. The next song, When You Die, I mean, that was an interesting song. I mean, they always have interesting music. Ariel Pink co-wrote When You Die. Me and Michael was one of the most pop-friendly songs on Little Dark Age. It was a very good album. The last song, Handed Over, I thought was a very good album closer. So I don't know if they won any of their old fans back. I don't know if the fans that they might have lost with Congratulations and MGMT, the self-titled album, came back with Little Dark Age. I know that I liked it, but again, I didn't dislike Congratulations like so many others did. Like, I'm still trying to convince some of my closest friends and relatives, like my brother, my cousin, trying to convince them of how good an album Congratulations was and is. Like, I think that it's aged well. So now in 2024, 6 years after Little Dark Age, we're getting Loss of Life. And they've already dropped their lead single. They've dropped like 2 or 3 singles, one of which has Christine and the Queens contributing. So look, I listened to the first single that they released with the music video. I'm going to hold off on listening to the others until the album drops. I just want to hear these songs in the context of the album. But look, I don't think they're going to return to Time to Pretend. Like, I don't think we will ever get another moment, because it's also true that when an artist is new and they kind of come out of nowhere, like you hear those opening, the ding 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 ding, and then it eventually drops to the I'm feeling rough, I'm feeling right, I'm in the we will never get shaken buy a MGMT song like that again. I just think that that was kind of like a lightning in a bottle situation. It was like the perfect instrumentation at the perfect time in terms of where the musical zeitgeist was. That was just what music needed at the time. So it might be a good thing that they never tried to recreate and reinvent what they had just done with their future albums. Maybe it was good that they took these different directions, mostly with increasingly psych leanings. I'm just always curious and wondering where they are now. So I just want to know where they are musically with Loss of Life. Like, I can't wait to hear this. And I could tell just by, their merch campaign, their listening sessions campaign. Like in a few different cities, they have like these dark listening sessions where you could go to a venue, like they've got one out, in LA near here, where if you were early in getting tickets, you could go to this thing where everybody's just going to be listening to this album in the dark. And I think that you could even do it remotely. I think that they're making that option available as well. I'm just waiting for them to announce their actual tour. I'd love to see them take to the stage and, play some of their old songs, play some of the songs from this new album. But what do you guys think in terms of what to expect from Loss of Life? Like, is this going to be a little bit more poppy, for instance, than Congratulations and MGMT? Is it going to double down on the art rock kind of weirdness of Little Dark Age? Or are they going to try to bring it back to like psych pop glory, similar to what they achieved with Oracular Spectacular? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Again, like, I'm a big MGMT fan. The duo of Andrew Van Weergarden and Benjamin Goldwasser are good with me, even as they took those stylistic left turns. But let me know if you are as excited about this upcoming album, Loss of Life, as I am, or did they lose you with some of their more recent work? Are you off of the MGMT train? And if you are a fan of MGMT, please let me know what your favorite MGMT album is, and let me know what your 3 favorite MGMT songs are. If I had to pick them off the top, I would have to start with Time to Pretend. That one is, to me, is kind of like a timeless indie classic. I would have to go with Siberian Breaks as number 2. Number 3 has to either be Electric Feel. I like Weekend Wars. I like It's Working, Flash Delirium, Congratulations, Me and Michael. It would be one of those. Picking the third one is a little tough for me. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you love music like I do. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.